Hello, folks. So, continuing on the story about Samsung store and also about other stuff which I'll be talking about, like saying no. So I saw a lot of stuff in the Samsung store, pretty fancy stuff, right? Big TVs, really big TVs, really fancy TVs, really big speakers. I loved the speakers; it looked pretty awesome. The JBL speakers. It apparently has a lot of lights and whatnot, and pretty powerful. And there's a accompanying app and whatnot to control the lights and everything. So the thing is, it was all fancy, and there were also fancy headphones and whatnot. There were fancy phones, flip phones, folding phones, and whatnot. Very fancy, all metal based and steel based and whatnot. Pretty pricey ones, of course, and there were many pricey accessories and whatnot, right? And though I could buy some of those, let's say, and I love technology, but I don't think I have any use for them. Not really, like as in I don't really have any use for them. And I'm not really a fan of like just buying a lot of stuff. I used to be, but I'm not anymore. And it's a fortunate thing. This way, I don't have to spend a lot of money and be like, why did I spend that much money? Right? These days, I don't do that often, like thinking, why did I spend that much money? Anyways, so before and all, I've spent a lot of money blindly or not thinking twice and whatnot. These days, I have some sort of idea of like some logic apart from emotion. Of course, there's always emotion involved, right? And the thing about buying and saying yes, saying no, there is always advantages and disadvantages, and there's like benefits, right? Advantages, benefits, pros, whatever you want to call it, and then disadvantages, cons, and all that, and then side effects, negative side effects, and whatnot, and consequences, bad consequences, and whatnot, right? Whenever you say yes, no, and all. So whenever I say yes to buying something, there is like a big financial thing, right? Like I have to pay a lot of money to buy something. Interestingly, the best part is I don't always have enough money to buy very costly stuff and all. So there's only so much I can actually put money and buy something costly, and then after some time I'll be out of money. That's all, because most of my money just goes for investments. And by default, I think that I just don't have money. I think of myself like someone who doesn't have enough money, and I really don't have enough money. If I did, I'd be buying things left, right, and center. The next thing is, first is financial. The next thing is, whenever you buy something, especially buy something expensive, costly, and pricey stuff, you will note that these are actually very sensitive stuff, and this will need maintenance and whatnot. You will need accessories and whatnot. I've spoken about this before. So I really can't maintain too much things. I don't have the time or the energy, and I don't want to spend effort on maintaining something if I'm not really interested in using it so much and whatnot. Right? It looks fancy. It looks awesome. It looks pretty cool. Like all the products I noticed on Samsung, the store, like the physical store that I visited, it was pretty cool, right? Very fancy. I'll like it for a moment. I'll use it for a moment, maybe, but then after that, I'll be like, that's all right. So it won't keep me hooked, and if it does keep me hooked, it's probably because it's just good at keeping me hooked. And ideally, I shouldn't be hooked to it unless and until it has something really good in it, like something to read and learn and whatnot, like based on my values and whatnot. Same goes for stuff like say Netflix and whatnot. I noticed Netflix banners and whatnot running on one of the Samsung TVs, and I was like, interesting. And a friend recently asked, "Do you want Netflix?" I was like, no, because though I can afford it probably, especially while sharing, because I've done it before. I've shared with 4 friends, 3 friends, 2 friends, and whatnot, and like shared and paid only 100, 200, or 300 or $400 for an actually $800 plan, right? Every month though, while other services only asked for like 1,000 or 2,000 rupees and whatnot for a year max, right? Like I think Amazon only asks say 125 or 200 per month now, which is like 2,400 per year or something. Anyways, I just said no to my friend saying I don't want Netflix because the thing is I will have to spend time to actually watch Netflix. I would love to spend time watching documentaries, some movies and all, but I don't have that time. Interesting note, today I read an email which said a bad 4 words or like 4 words that destroy life or something like that, right? I don't have time. The thing is, the reality is more like I don't have time for that particular thing. Like there are other priorities, right? I have other things to do. I have to sleep. More like I get to sleep. I don't want to say I have to sleep. I get to sleep. I am grateful that I get to sleep. A lot of people don't get to sleep. They have insomnia and all that. And I get to eat food, I get to go to work, I get to do stuff like make YouTube videos, I get to work on my health, say walk around and whatnot, right? So it's great that I can do things. Then but I don't want to actually spend time watching Netflix or I don't want to spend money or time and effort, say on some costly stuff and maintaining them and whatnot. Say I get a house. Currently, I'm in a hostel. I get a house, rent a house. I have to maintain it, or I have to get a maid to help me maintain it, right? And I have to depend on the maid and whatnot. So there's also dependence, right? So it's important to understand the power of saying no, the power of the ability to be able to say no. When you have the ability to say no, you have a lot of power, right? Ability to say no to relationships, any kind of relationship, romantic relationship, friendship, work colleague, or just say any kind of work relationship, or even say your spouse, say I mean divorce and stuff like that when you're in a marriage, and then be able to say no to things, products, services, like for example say be able to say no to say some fancy phone, say for example an iPhone, or some service, let's say some fancy service, say there is some very very fancy service that costs say thousands of dollars or lakhs of rupees, and do I have to go if I want to? Okay. I mean, people say, for example, my therapist says it's okay to spend on experiences and whatnot. Like, he says so. But the thing is, it's my money and I need to understand, right? Is it really worth it? And not just worth it, do I really want it? Or do I want to do something else and whatnot and stuff like that? And I'm not like in a place where I'm like, I want to do this, I need the money, so I'm going to get the money and earn the money and then do this, right? Of course, it will be nice to have money, a lot of money, to be able to afford those, but just afford those. Just improve affordability, but never buy those. You can afford something, but for example, if you can say that you can actually buy something really expensive, but you don't have to buy it and you won't buy it, great, because now you have a lot of money and you're not spending it. Yes, you can use that for anything when you have it. Once you are done using it for like some uh, depreciating value asset, not asset, say depreciating value thing, for example, some say a car, a motorcycle, or whatever. Most of them are depreciating, stuff, items, right? Their value depreciates over time. It's not an asset, and it's a liability and whatnot. In terms of financial terms, that's what they call it again. I don't know too much. And you also have to maintain it. You have to spend money on it to maintain it, like give it for service and whatnot, right? It has its own pros and cons, but you need to understand those when you're buying something, right? And when you're investing, like when you're putting money in something, right? And interestingly, when I was in this Samsung store, pretty big store, I came out. I was done buying my power bank and all. I came out. I noticed some really fancy dressed woman and all. I think they were transgender women, one or two of them. And I kind of realized that they were whores, or like that's the bad term. They were prostitutes, or like the good term, whore prostitutes are actually really rude bad terms. I'm sorry. More like they were. I think okay, yeah. The good term, the decent, great term is actually escorts. So basically, they were into the profession of prostitution, and they were escorts, and they were just looking around, or so I believe they were looking around, and there was one third person, like two people I noticed, and then there was one third person I noticed, and I was just curious. I was like, okay, what is going on over here? It's a very posh place. So the whole place was actually full of posh uh, stores, very expensive items, apparels, clothes, shoe wear, basically footwear, shoes and whatnot, and then all kinds of stuff, right? So bags and whatnot, like wallets and handbags and whatnot. A lot of stores over there, and then of course eatery places and whatnot along with these, but mostly just fancy stores to buy stuff, to do shopping, right? Along with electronic stuff, including, for example, the Samsung store. It is called Samsung Opera House. So then I was like, okay, fancy place. These people are fancily dressed and whatnot. And it was just 9:30, 10, right? I was like, this is too early. Usually I notice these people roaming around at say 12, not even 12, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4, like 3 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., right? Or 1 a.m. and all. And so I was just wondering what is going on. And then I was just talking to my driver partner to get my ride home. And so this one of these women came up to me and asked, "Hey, hello, hi, do you want service?" And I was like, I just smiled. I said, I just shook my head to say no, and they went away. Now, if you think about it, they were basically asking, I believe they were asking, do you want to have sex, and do you want to avail the service of sex, and do you want to have sex and like pay for it, because she's a prostitute, right? And I was in a position, I was in a mindset, I was in a maturity to be able to say no, because I know what are the pros and cons for me, right? Pros, not really anything, like because though someone could say pro, like you will have fun having sex. The thing is, that's just a short-term pro, right? Some experience, some fun, whatever, right? You'll feel good biologically. There is like stuff around it. I don't know, endorphin or like oxytocin. I don't know what is there, what gets released and whatnot. Dopamine and whatnot. I don't know what all gets released. The chemicals that get released in your head, the adrenaline rush from sex and whatnot. But the thing is, there are a lot of cons, right? I know that if all these chemicals come in, it is just for a few moments. After that, your brain, if it starts craving more of it, it will ache. Your headache, you will have a headache, or at least I think I'll have a headache if I have like so much like this going on, and then suddenly my head will start craving for more of it and whatnot, and it's not sustainable. If you actually go read about moods, I remember one of these layman books talking about how your mood can actually go up when you have sex, like go up really high when you have sex, and then it will go down quickly and crash. Like let's say your mood level initially was this, after having sex it will go up quickly, and then it will also go down quickly, and it will go lower than your previous mood level, right? So that's like worsening the state. So initially we're here, but after sex you are here, for some time you are here, but then after some time you're lower than what you used to be, the mood, what mood you used to have, right? So it's like quickly you are at like a disadvantage, right? After some time. So it's a very short burst of happiness or excitement or good pleasure, mood and whatnot, right? And also I believe that I am a very emotional person. I will get attached based on sex. So sex will make me emotionally attached. So I wouldn't have casual sex. So only with a romantic partner I will have sex, or with my spouse, right? In a long-term relationship, right? And so I can actually easily say no, because I know that no matter what anyone says, like sex is nice, great, it's pleasurable, I know what is the problem with it for me, right? And that's maturity, right? Some level of maturity, experience with like, and the knowledge with like what is sex and whatnot, right? And also the understanding that okay, when sex is actually paid and whatnot, and you are having sex with random strangers, you can easily have STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, right? Like HIV and whatnot. Even if you use condoms, like, I don't know, like if you make a mistake, it's problematic, right? So even whatever protection you use and whatnot, how much or careful you are, it is possible, and you have no idea what these people are going to do to you, because these are strangers. What if they drug you? What if they spike your drink order or do something, like inject you with something and then try to rob you, or like kidnap you and whatnot? Who knows what these people are trying to do? Who knows what if they actually do some organ trafficking, right? Black market. There's people trafficking human organs and whatnot, right? So it's important to understand, to be able to say no, and like be like, okay, so this is actually something. One moment, I think my battery is pretty low. Let me charge it up. But it's important to be able to understand that being able to say no is actually a very powerful thing, right? Uh, just give me a moment and let me charge up my phone. Ooh, we are back. So it's important to understand that when you can actually say no, like I know the disadvantage of actually saying yes to things, and I know the benefits of saying no, and I know that being able to say no is actually a very powerful thing. Being able to say no to anything and everything is like a very powerful thing. You have a lot of power. Being able to say no to a job, or like being able to say no, like I don't care about this job. But of course it comes with quite some like what do you say, courage. But there's not just courage, there is consequences to saying no also, right? Like if I say I want to be able to have the power to be able to say no, the consequences are basically that you will not have a job. Then you need to have some level of safety net, and you kind of sometimes need, or a lot of times need, some level of privilege to be able to say no. To be able to say no to a job or employment, you need to have some amount of money. Like I remember, like one of these people online was saying something like, you need to be able to have a lot of money, something like fuck you money. They call it fuck you money, or let's just make it decent and say chuck you, or whatever, instead of saying fuck you or fuck off or whatever. Though fuck off means just means go away or whatever. But let's just say chuck you money, or like go away money, or I don't care about you, just I don't give a damn money, then you can actually uh, courageously do a lot of stuff, right? Anywhere, especially at work, because you basically work for a job, for your career, for money, right? But to be able to say no to your job, to your work, to your career, or whatever, is actually a big thing. And to be able to say no, you need to have quite some money, right? So that's a big thing. So that's a lot of power, and that kind of power requires some level of privilege, right? So you need to have some level of privilege. By the way, when you say no to things, for example, say phones and whatnot, you don't have to pay for it. And when you say no to services, say especially phones, let's just start with phones. If it has a problem or whatever, or let's say you buy a motorcycle or car, you need to service it sometimes, or a lot of times after some point and whatnot, and service it often. You need to pay for that service. And if you have services like say massage services, and you love pleasure, and you're just going for the pleasure of it and whatnot, like I love massage and whatnot, I think. But then like the problem is, now I love it, or more like I like it, or like it's nice, right? Biologically it's nice, the pleasure of a massage is nice, right? I'm just talking about simple body massage, not the crazy stuff like sexual massages and whatnot that some places provide. Actually, I don't know about the legality and whatnot, but anyways. So deep tissue massages and all, which provides actually pain relief, right? And is actually relaxing and calm and whatnot. I'm yet to read about the real benefits and whatnot, but this is what I'm assuming, right? And apparently, massage is actually supposed to be for good blood flow, right? And not for relaxation and all that. But some of these massages also provide some level of relaxation, right? Interestingly, some of these services mention how customers want relaxation immediately during the massage, but usually that doesn't happen. It just gives them pain in deep tissue massage and all. But later there is relaxation and whatnot. They're talking about long-term effects. So I am someone who's looking at long-term effects and all that. But then these services, like say massage services, or let's say you go for playing services, or say you want to play badminton every weekend or every day, or you want to go to swimming pools, there are services for that. I think Cult Fit and whatnot provide very cheap services and all that. Or there are other companies also, I don't know, turfs and whatnot, that provide all this services for swimming, football, basketball. I don't know about basketball, but football, cricket and all. It would be interesting to see the same for basketball, volleyball and all, and say even beach volleyball, but then Bangalore doesn't have a beach anyways. So yeah, I mean, when you can actually say no to these services, you don't have to pay for them, right? And when you can say no to services like say even sex, for example, in this case where I was outside the Samsung store, some prostitute or like some escort came and asked me, do you want to have sex? I can say no and I don't have to pay to them, right? And regardless of I'm interested or not. But the thing is, when you know that you're not interested, it's very easy to say no. So it's important to understand what you're interested in and what your goals are, what your values are, and what you would do and what you would not do, and what you would say no to and what you would not say no to, and what you would say yes to and what not, right? Being able to take some decisions, hard decisions, are important in life, and even being able to take small decisions, but multiple small decisions over time are also hard, especially decisions like on a daily basis or frequent basis. For example, you buy stuff all the time, like groceries and whatnot. Now, how much do you spend is a question, right? When you're able to actually say no and then frequently be able to make that decision, regardless of what you like, what you are like inclined to, or what companies and people and services are influencing you to think, like, hey, this looks nice, this dessert looks nice, this food looks nice, let's go eat it. But then the dessert, the pizza, the burger, the junk food is actually going to cause problems to your body, right? Though it looks good. Or say, let's say you are actually interested in sex and whatnot. You are the kind of person, say, who's like food and sex is what life is all about. Like life is all about food and sex. I have heard people who say that. I know people, some people who say that they're like they just want sex only. I think they are at a position in life, or they are in a point in their life where they're still trying to experience things. But then once they know that, once they have sex and once they know that that's not what they want, they'll realize, okay, maybe they want something else, and they'll realize that life is more than that, right? Like when you earn, when you don't have money, or like you want money, but when you get some money, you realize money is not what you really wanted, right? So as in, like, money is not the end goal, right? A lot of times we end up thinking this is the end goal, and not think about the meta stuff and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, being able to think and say no, and especially when you're interested also, like junk food is really nice, but you still say no because, hey, I love my body, I'm gonna actually keep saying no. I think Atomic Habits says and talks about this idea of, like, every time you make a decision, you are voting for the kind of person that you want to become, that you want to be and whatnot. So every time you say no to junk food, you're voting for the person who says, who wants to, who is actually healthy, and you want to become healthy, you want to be healthy, right? So every time you say no to, say, toxic toxic habits or toxic or bad actions, say saying yes to say sex to random strangers, say escorts, prostitutes and whatnot, or having casual sex, saying no to casual sex and whatnot. So and not having casual sex in general, or not casually dating and whatnot. Like these are some toxic habits in my view, for me at least, right? So because these don't help me, I am the kind of person who wants long-term stuff only, right? Even with like any kind of relationship, even in a business relationship, right? So I don't want short-term stuff. So it's nice to be able to know that this is what I want, and to be able to say no to anything else, right? So when you actually keep saying no to the stuff that you don't want or that is not doing good to you, you are actually voting for the kind of person that you want to become, that you want to be, and slowly you'll just become that, and it just becomes a habit, right? So yeah, I mean, I would say being able to say no is a really powerful, pretty powerful thing and powerful ability. So I would recommend everyone to have the ability to say no, and improve their ability to say no, improve their lifestyle and whatnot, and have a lifestyle where they can actually say no to a lot of things and not depend on people, not depend on things, not depend on services, not depend on products, not depend on companies, not depend on food, not be what do you say, not be shaken or shook by anything distracting, and instead be calm and like peaceful and be like, you can't really just uh, influence me and make me wish or want, or make me look for something, make me need something, and be at that level. Then you're like just pretty cool. So once you keep aiming for more and more of that, it's just pretty cool. So I would say aim for a position where you can actually say no to a lot of things in life, and then if you want to say yes, that's your choice, but being able to say no and being okay with it, to a great extent, being okay with it to a great extent, or being fine and great and better and amazing with it after saying no, is just cool, awesome, pretty amazing. So once you're at that level, you're just unshakable, you're just untouchable. I think people call this foolproof, bulletproof, and whatnot, right? So yeah, I would recommend reaching that state. Yeah, that's all I had for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.